Ten before the hour on this Storm Watch, we're going to look at a very soggy South Texas where as much as 11 inches of rain have fallen in the last 12 hours. Right now, heavy thunderstorms crossing out of Minnesota, Iowa into Wisconsin. More on those storms shortly. But now an update on the tropics. And the bottom line is the tropics remain very, very quiet. There are no real significant systems on the Atlantic side from the Gulf of Mexico through the Caribbean into the tropical South Atlantic. Now, as was the case yesterday, we're watching these fairly potent tropical waves or tropical disturbances rolling east to west off the African continent. There's one obviously just about to come offshore later on today. There's another system in here with a fairly broad counterclockwise circulation, but very little in the way of thunderstorm activity associated with it. Now, as this wave drifts west into warmer water, it could begin to promote, or we could begin to see more and more thunderstorm or convection activity with it. And if it persists, then it would become something that we would certainly have to watch as it moves westward across the Atlantic Ocean. But even if something begins to take shape, it will be several days down the road before it becomes a concern, even for the islands, Antigua, Guadeloupe, and Barbados out here. In fact, this morning over the islands is fairly heavy thunderstorms right in here, so some squally weather. A couple of disturbances, one upper low north of Hispaniola, spinning its way off to the west-northwest. It is not expected to develop at this time. And out in the Gulf of Mexico, the storms that have developed here have been in response to the trailing edge of a bit of a dip in the jet stream over the southeast corner of the United States, and some heavy storms bringing beneficial and very heavy rainfalls to South Texas. So with that in mind, let's go to the Pacific. Georgette, remember Georgette? It has died away. But we have new developments now in the form of Tropical Depression 1C at 14.1 north, 146.5 west, 600 miles southeast of Hilo, with top sustained winds 35 miles per hour. The tropical depression is moving west-northwest at 10. Here it is down here, well southeast of the Big Island, spinning its way to the west. Forecast track has it passing south of the Big Island, so the main effects probably will be some heavy surf on the southeast and south-facing shores of the Hawaiian island chain 3 or 4 days down the road. The remnants of Georgette, just a swirl of cloud cover well southwest of San Diego, California. Now we go to the Western Pacific. We're not going to stay here too long because the unusually tranquil tropical season in the Pacific and the South China Sea remains. There are no tropical storms or typhoons at all at this point, and none expected during the next couple of days. So back to the states. Big storms in South Texas, they're dying away. But these thunderstorms remain very strong and bordering on severe in parts of Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa, just in advance of this cold front, which is slicing through the area. Meantime, we have weak low pressure tracking its way through West Virginia, heading towards the northeast, and bringing with it quite a bit of moisture, which you can see on the satellite picture, and we confirm on mid-Atlantic radar. Showers from Huntington to Morgantown, from Binghamton to Scranton to near New York City. It's been showery overnight in Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia. Temperatures, they range from crisp and autumn-like in Caribou, where it's 46, to 75 in Philadelphia and mid-70s in Washington, D.C. Across the South, about the same as it was early Sunday morning, upper 60s to as warm as the mid-80s in the case of Miami and low 80s in Brownsville. Big storms have hammered South Texas. It's Webb County right along the Rio Grande that has had 11 inches of rain, and there were some evacuations. Now the rain is diminishing, but more storms could come back later on this afternoon. As we head to the Great Lakes, as you can see, Chicago to Detroit, fair weather right now, but you've got a line of storms from Lake Superior across Wisconsin into southeast Minnesota and north central Iowa. These storms contain heavy rain, frequent to continuous lightning, and gusty winds as they head southeast. Later on, we think thunderstorms could visit the Windy City, Milwaukee, Lansing, Michigan, and maybe late today, after dinner time especially, Detroit and Pontiac. 64 in the Motor City right now, also in Flint, 75 in Des Moines. It's in the 50s in Cut Bank, 80s to near 90 Las Vegas and Phoenix, and a fairly quiet weather scenario Here in the west, residual moisture this morning, and that means popcorn thunderstorms firing up this afternoon. Rocky Mountain High Country, Rim Country, and White Mountains of Arizona. But the much more concentrated rain here in the east, including Boston, New York City, Philadelphia, and Baltimore. Stay with us.
It's a wet start to the week from the Gulf Coast to the Northeast. Find out if you'll need an umbrella for your back to work. Watch Weather Center after your local forecast.
We all do dumb things.
Boy, we've seen some very heavy rains move into the northeast from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts, and there's the potential for some localized street flooding today. We'll check it out on radars in just a moment. But first, let's give you your complete tropical update. And here's our tropical expert, Mr. John Hope. Morning, John.
Good morning, and thank you very much. And we'll start in by taking a look at our graph here showing the hurricane climatology. Well, here we are. It's the 17th day of August. We're over 2 weeks into August, and we've only had one storm so far this year. That was Alex. It wasn't a hurricane, only a tropical storm. It died out actually even over the deep tropics. As you can see by looking at this graph of not expected activity, but climatological activity, that the pace really picks up about this time in August. But we have not seen that happen this August yet. And as a matter of fact, as we look out over the tropics today, we'll start in with a wide shot. And we're not really seeing anything that causes us any immediate concern as far as development is concerned. We have a couple of weak tropical waves, one going through the Gulf of Mexico, just has a few scattered showers with it. Out here northwest of Haiti and north of the eastern part of Cuba, we have a low in the upper atmosphere. We've been looking at that carefully and found out it doesn't have any circulation at the surface, and the pressures aren't very low at all. Tropical wave yesterday came through the Lesser Antilles. Some pretty good rains around St. Lucia. Antigua had some rain, some passing showers there at St. Croix this morning. And then it's several hundred miles out in the Atlantic before we find anything that catches our eye. And this is a tropical wave. It's way out there. It's about 1,800 miles or so away from the Caribbean Sea. And what we're seeing now, some showers with it. Yesterday, not very many at all. We see good rotation. It does have rotation, but the showers are still kind of skimpy, not very well organized for sure, and not really concentrated around the center of this circulation. Until it gets concentrated around the center, it won't have much of a chance to develop into anything that we need to be much concerned about. Here it is again on this picture. It certainly has rotation. This is something that we're going to watch, but right now, that's all we're doing is watching. And now for several hundred miles in, it's clear skies east of the islands. There's a tropical wave that brought some rain and still bringing some rain to portions of the Virgin Islands and the Leeward Islands. Now as you go farther west, we can see that upper low, and that's got quite a few thunder showers with it. You see a nice counterclockwise rotation there, and if you didn't know it wasn't at surface, you might be a little concerned about it. But it's right now kind of drifting toward the west, not showing any signs of organization. Nothing organized in the Caribbean, some showers north of Panama, and some showers from the Florida Panhandle down toward the Yucatan Peninsula, but certainly not an organized system. Well, Georgette, we said goodbye to that. It was a pretty good hurricane and then dwindled down to a tropical depression, and now we're just speaking about the remnants of it. And then way out to the west here, to the southeast of Hilo, Hawaii, we actually have a tropical depression. Centered at 13.9 and 147.6. That's 625 miles to the southeast of Hilo, Hawaii, but not getting any better organized at all. It's no kind of organization there. We don't really expect it to. We expect it to track toward the west-northwest, stay well south of Hawaii, and not be of any concern there at all. Well, we have some flooding up in New England and portions of Pennsylvania, so back to Mark Van Cusel, who will tell us about that.
All right, thank you very much, John, and we'll keep an eye on that wave as it moves its way across the Atlantic and see what happens with it over the next couple of days. Closer to home, there's the low pressure moving slowly up through West Virginia, taking with it a copious supply of moisture from the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Atlantic. That's all headed up into the northeast today, so we are looking at very heavy rains. Another area of concern is in Texas. Weak disturbance here, just kind of milling about, and now the downpours are really popping up in the coastal bend. Heading west out of Houston on I-10, you will hit blinding rains if you're traveling to San Antonio this afternoon. To the north, the disturbance in the Rockies, and as that comes out, there could be some strong to severe storms in eastern Montana later today. Now look at this. Look at this rain exploding over southeastern Connecticut, around New Haven, New London here. A lot of rain here, or just east of New Haven, but around New London. As you head your way over towards Norwich here, it's pouring and very heavy rains around Narragansett Bay. You can see around Newport, Rhode Island, and then up into the Boston area. It is pouring, especially around Quincy and Hull. It is coming down like gangbusters, so there'll be some localized street flooding. Showers are getting a little more intense now in eastern New Jersey, bearing down on New York City. Could have some localized street flooding here. Very heavy rains passing just north of Philly, headed towards Warminster and Bucks County. So you could have some problems here as well. Showers, they're headed towards D.C.
The week gets off to a wet start from the northeast to the Gulf Coast, while stormy skies cover parts of the Midwest. Will your day be soggy or dry? Find out on Weather Center next.
Oh, not the 41 Series D19 Custom Luxury Liner Convertible Coupe.
Cars. We know them. We love them.
Check your yellow pages for a Valvoline Instant Oil Change Center near you.